Happy Friday, everybody. I hope you had a great week. It was another big week in the market, so please make sure you come back on Monday for the Monday Market Update. Today is September 20th, 2024, and this is your Friday planning video. Today, I want to try to see how many finance sayings that I can get into one video. Not really, but you'll see. Last week, we spoke about the different techniques of offense and defense in contributing to and withdrawing from your 401ks and IRAs. Before I get too far into this, please allow me to remind you that the most successful financial plans that we work with are the ones that include the team of your tax advisor, your legal advisor, and myself. What I'll talk about today is not advice for you per se. These things rely on way too much to be covered by one video for everyone. This is not personal tax advice. This is information so that we can have discussion with your team when the time and situation is right. Back to the details. Last week was a bit about the new 10-year rule about leaving IRAs and 401ks to your non-spousal heirs. Today, I want to talk about giving the inheritance while you're alive. Sounds a bit weird, but so many times I've had the conversation about the pure joy you receive when you are able to give. And sometimes that's to the charitable causes near and dear to you and your family's heart, something that I am passionate about. And this is something that is if it's something on your radar, please let me know. We can talk about it. We'll talk about that in just a moment. There are amazing ways to make that happen today. You may have heard about the Giving Pledge. That's the campaign founded by some of the most wealthy families in the United States, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates. As of May of this year, there are more than 240 signatories from 30 different countries on this pledge for now. Before you say anything, I'm not suggesting that this is for you. I've heard more than once, more than 100 times over the last 30 years, I do not intend to leave my kids a huge sum of money. They need to earn it like I did. This is something, as I said, I'm passionate about. So let's talk about it. What the key to this being is a part of your plan is the passion and your desire. You can't take it with you. And for many of you, you may try, but you cannot spend it all in your lifetime. Though you may try, I will note that back in the 1990s, there was a story that went around called The Jocks versus the Nerds. It was showing how much Michael Jordan was making at the time and how it was nothing compared to what Bill Gates was making. If you Google the story, it's a fun one to look at. Finally, realize that if you are earning on your wealth, you may have a difficult time spending it all. I'll call it the money you live on and the money you'll leave on. Just to note like that, Jeff Bezos, not even the most wealthy anymore. As of early this year, he was earning about $1,000 a second, or about $59,000 per minute, $59,000 or $60,000 a minute. So obviously you get it. The 90% pledge for him still leaves a lot to take care of. So regardless, if you want to discuss your leave on money, please let's talk about it. For now, I want to talk about your live on money and some ideas that we may want to talk about and consult with on your tax and legal advisors about how to keep your wealth from being a tax burden on your heirs. First, let's acknowledge the main obstacles to giving to your heirs during your lifetime. I'll pass on the tax implications for now. Again, something for your tax advisor. Let's talk about the obvious. This week, I spoke to someone about their life insurance and the fact that it covered them. It was a second to die policy, and it covered the man until age 104 and the woman until age 99. And I asked them if they wanted to address that insurance will be worth the fact that insurance is going to be worth nothing if they live past those years. Now, this is a problem we really don't know, and this creates a common but no less of a frustrating planning obstacle. Those of us not on the 90% pledge status, we may want to assist family members and make some meaningful gifts to them and your favorite charitable causes, but not at the expense of you not having the money to care for yourself in your later years. I've spoken about the need to discuss long-term care insurance. Research from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services showed that more than 50% of 65-year-olds will need long-term care of some kind. And 1 in 5 will have something like that lasts more than 5 years. Add that to the finding from that study that only 8% of Americans have long-term care insurance. I've been talking to you in these videos about and in meetings for a long time about long-term care. So please, if we haven't talked about it yet, please let's talk about it. Back to the inheritance during your life. Of course, the easiest solution would be to postpone any gifts until you die. Well, when you'll no longer need those funds for living or medical care. That's one way. And according to RBC Wealth Management, about 60% of Americans follow this plan. What's wrong with this plan? Now, I'm not saying it's wrong for you, but there are some troubling facts to consider. First, there's a good chance that you or your spouse will live into your 90s. And that'll mean that those children of yours, probably in their 60s and past that time, that they may need the help for a down payment for a home or student loan payments. Again, giving during your lifetime allows you to see them use the money, and you can see the impact. It may be that new home or the college graduation. So let's talk about giving while you're living. Told you I'd try to get as many of those sayings in as I could. So first, of course, PYF, pay yourself first. It is, of course, our first course of business to be sure that we do all we can to accurately estimate the amount that you will need to live on into retirement, and conservatively estimating a long life, and even including the possibility of the need of medical care in later years. This may come to nothing, but in the leave on, this may come to the fact that there's nothing in the leave on amount, and that can and should be reviewed on a regular basis, especially with the kind of investment returns that we've seen lately. This does change constantly. Once we figure out the income you will receive from Social Security and other forms of income you will have, we can then work on a strategy to come up with some numbers that will work. We do project taxes, we do inflation, investment returns as well, usually overestimate for purposes of being conservative. Before I move on to the leave on planning, I want to revisit a tool or two that we should discuss to determine if it is right for you and if it fits in this plan. Many times it can really make the plan work. One way is to establish another source of permanent income using insurance and annuity products. This can supplement your Social Security and other pensions. These are also very complex but very effective. There are also, very complex and very effective charitable giving strategies that also provide income during your lifetime. This is not an easy number to calculate, but once you have determined that you can have at least some of your money in the leave on bucket, it may be time to talk about some effective and even tax efficient ways to pass on that money while you're alive to see it used. Let's start with one of the common ones, especially this time of year, the grandparents funded 529 college savings plan. My parents told me that as a parent, we are responsible to give our children only a few things: an education and an example to live by. I do thank my parents for that. So what an amazing legacy to educate that next generation. There are large gifts that you can make to these accounts while actually maintaining control, getting the money out of your taxable estate, and depending on the state and your plan, may even get a tax deduction for it. New rules about these plans and how they no longer affect the financial aid eligibility of the student, very important. Also, new rules about the ability to take unused 529 money and fund Roth IRAs for the beneficiary. Please watch out for a special video coming up on this one. This is there, but it's unfortunately not as good as it sounds. Okay, two more quick ones. First, this is just giving the funds to your heirs when you are living, giving the gift and getting to see the appreciation. These are gifting rules. There are gifting rules both about gifting investments like stocks. There are gifting rules, both annual and lifetime rules. There are also rules about gifting investments like stocks. And it's important to note that your growth that you have in your portfolio, if you want to gift that while you're living, the cost basis that you have will probably carry on to the recipient. So that low cost basis stock, that capital gain liability will now be a liability of your heir. Just something to note. Finally, let's revisit philanthropy once more. As we approach the end of the year, qualified charitable distributions from your IRAs can be used to satisfy your required minimum distribution without a major tax event. And of course, the low cost basis stock may be suited for a donor advised fund and what may be a great vehicle for charitable giving, possible for generations. Ask me about that. We can talk about that. Okay, that's a lot, but this is a big thing. As I mentioned last week, the Secure Act made any retirement assets a tax liability for heirs, and add to that the year-end 2025 sunset of the higher tax exemptions and more favorable tax brackets for many of you. It's time to do some live on and leave on discussions. There are creative ways to do planning. It just takes one thing. Have an idea of what you'd like to see happen. And note clearly, as the Greek philosopher Heraclitus said, I know I'm going to mispronounce that, the only constant in life is change. This is why we revisit these plans regularly. Your passion is your compass. Let it guide you. See, I told you I'd get all these in. Please share this with others. Let me know if you have questions. Have a great weekend.